Why were early Latin American colonial cities so volatile? Imagine building a city not because it grew naturally but because someone in power decided it should be there. That's how many early Latin American colonial cities started during the colonial era. These cities were not founded to be thriving communities but as strategic points for control and resource extraction. The Spanish and Portuguese rulers chose locations like bays or crossroads to set up these towns. They wanted to dominate the land, control indigenous populations, and make sure they could get resources like gold, silver, and crops. Because of this, these cities were often created from scratch by decree, not by people settling naturally. They lacked the organic growth that European cities had, which meant they often felt more like military forts or administrative centers than lively communities. Another reason for the instability was how the economy was set up. These cities didn't produce much themselves. Instead, they served as hubs for government, military, and the homes of the colonial elites. The countryside around them was exploited for farming and mining, often using forced indigenous labor or later African slaves. This created a big divide between the city's wealthy rulers and the rural workers, which led to social tensions. The indigenous populations suffered devastating declines because of harsh working conditions and European diseases. This caused social chaos and labor shortages, forcing the colonizers to bring in African slaves, which added to the demographic shifts and unrest. The social structure was also a big factor. The colonial system imposed strict racial and social hierarchies. Spanish and Portuguese elites held most of the power, while indigenous peoples, African slaves, and mixed-race populations faced discrimination and exploitation. These inequalities often sparked conflicts and rebellions within the cities. Political violence was common as colonial authorities used force to suppress resistance from indigenous groups, slaves, or even rival settlers. The cities became battlegrounds for control, with violence often erupting over land, labor, or political disputes. Cultural and religious changes added to the chaos. European culture, Catholic religion, and new institutions replaced indigenous traditions. Efforts to convert indigenous peoples and assimilate them caused resistance and unrest. This cultural disruption made the cities even more unstable. All these factors combined made early Latin American colonial cities places of constant tension and change. They were built to serve colonial interests, not to be stable or peaceful communities. The mix of demographic upheaval, social inequality, economic dependence, and political violence kept these cities in a state of flux, reflecting the larger struggles of colonial rule.